2 of Intro to Comparative Sovereignty, Authority, and Power. First off, the three definitions that we need to differentiate between power is the ability to direct the behavior of others through coercion, persuasion. There's leadership there, maybe there's some incentives. Authority then is the actual legal right to exercise that power. Society and government gives you that legal right. Then there's sovereignty, the right and ability of a state to carry out all the actions and the policies that the people and the government want within a certain territory. Then the capacity of which to do this, so the degree to which a government is able to implement its policies, how well are they able to exercise their sovereignty. Then there's kind of limitations to this as well, and it depends on the state or the nation. So there's permeable borders. Anything that crosses a nation-state's borders without official sanction can demonstrate a limit to that nation-state's capacity and sovereignty. So maybe some examples here would be refugees, pollution, drugs, any different species, sometimes political ideas, organized crime as well. We'll hear the word legitimacy a lot throughout this semester. The general belief that the government has the right to rule and exercise authority, so the acceptance of that authority. There's the traditional legitimacy, so it determines who should rule and how based on traditions. There's their charismatic legitimacy, so based on maybe personality of a leader. Then there's the legal way, so there's you gain legitimacy through common law or code law like constitutions. Other factors, there's nationalism that factor into legitimacy, different ideologies and shared political culture, maybe a religion like in Iran, maybe the government is performing well, or success in some type of state-sponsored economic growth. A couple other key definitions here. A state. A state is a political system that has sovereignty, so has a political power, exercises over a certain population, and it is defined geographic territory through a set of political or public institutions. So there's borders there. They have institutions like executive, legislative branches, judiciaries, bureaucracies, and one of the other big things that they usually have an armed force. Nation is a human community with shared history, culture, and or political identity. Again, there's like nations that are divided. So there's a nation like Korea, North and South Korea would be a nation because they have a shared history or culture. Nationalism again is your common political identity, your pursuit of a set of rights for a nation, including the right of political control over certain territory. Often they share common ethnic identities. Other concepts here, regimes is a political system of a state, rules that states set and follow and exerting power over time. They endure beyond any individual governor or any individual leader. The government then is the actual set of people and organizations that hold political authority at one time. So the metaphor, the state is the machinery of politics and the regime is its programming. The government is the operator. So the government is the leadership or the elite in charge of running the state. Again, a country is what contains all the concepts discussed. So a country contains the state, the government, the regime, and all the people living within its political system, the entire political entity and its system. So a couple questions. Can a legitimate regime be sovereign? Yes. Can a nation be a nation state? Yes, if the borders of the group coincide with the borders of the nation state. Can a government have power without authority? Yes, powerful forces like the military can impose government on a nation state without actually having the authority or the legitimacy from maybe a constitution to do so. Does effective rule of law make legitimacy harder to achieve? No, it makes legitimacy easier to earn. And then, can a sovereign nation state have permeable borders? Yes, nearly all have permeable borders. Okay, so there's different types of regimes. Um, Again, when we always use the word regime, we say regime change. Technically, no, there's a government change. That's the people. The regime stays the same. So, what is democracy? The word democracy means many different things to different people. We use it in different ways. The basic definition: political power exercised either directly or indirectly through participation, competition, and liberty. Again, we have the indirect rule because we vote people in to make the decisions for us in the United States. There's different types of democracy. There's liberal versus illiberal. Your liberal democracies have competitive elections. You have your civil liberties that are protected, a constitution, which is your rule of law. You have a judicial branch that is neutral, open civil society where you can create interest groups, and you have civilians who operate within the military. Illiberal democracies that look like established democracies, look like they have free and fair elections, but fail to have many of the other features that I just talked about. Another type of regime is an authoritarian regime. A small group of individuals exercise all their power over the state without having any constitution to back them. Again, you can have a single dictator, a monarchy, maybe a single political party as well. Some of those characteristics then. Elites hold the political power. They make all the political decisions, some based off of communism, some based off of corporatism, which we'll get into. So corporatism, government officials interact with groups outside the government before they set policies. There's the patron-client system, so favors are given and services are given to people to gain supporters, and then they'll move up in the government. Economy is usually tightly controlled by the elite as well. Citizens have little input, and liberties, civil liberties, are restricted. A totalitarian, like Hitler's Germany, Stalin's Soviet Russia, Mussolini's Italy. Again, highly centralized regime that possesses some form of strong ideology that seeks to transform and absorb aspects of the state, society, and the economy. So much more negative connotation, very repressive, a lot of times violence and terror is used. Then a military regime. Very non-democratic, again, prevalent a lot of times in Latin America, Africa, some parts of Asia. Usually begins with a coup d'etat, so an overthrowing of the government. So again, military rule. More common states are struggling with legitimacy, stability. There's a high level of public unrest. There's a lot of violence. The military, then a general, someone will see themselves as the only way to organize and to ensure the stability. Coup d'etat, again, may or may not have widespread support among the people. Once they take control, leaders often restrict civil rights and usually lack a specific ideology or source of authority. A theocracy, so like Iran, a political system which religious leaders control political decisions. Religious law provides the basis for policy decisions. They use a text of some sort to make all their government decisions. That is part 2.